All right, good morning. Please take your seat so we can begin our meeting. We got a lot to cover today. All right, I hereby call this meeting of the Resolutions Committee to order. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ron Harris from the great state of Minnesota, and I'm really proud to co-chair this Resolutions Committee with Yoli Bejarano from Arizona. She's unable to make it this week, but she sends her regards and wishes she could be here. Before we get into the business of this committee, I want to start with gratitude. To the members of this committee, thank you all so much for your hard work and for showing up. For the staff who make this process work behind the scenes, who work tirelessly, thank you all as well for the work that you do. And to every DNC member who took the time to draft and submit a resolution, thank you. That act alone of putting your name on something that you believe in and sending it forward is democracy in practice. And I believe it deserves our respect regardless of where any of us land on any particular issue or on substance. I want to take a second to say what I believe this committee is for. At its best, the Resolutions Committee is where we affirm what this party stands for. It's where we shape how we talk about what we stand for. It's where we listen genuinely to the people in this party and what they care about. That is not something that's simply procedural for me, but it is a function of leadership for all of us. And I and all of us at this table take it very seriously. There we go. I'm like, that wasn't even the best part of my best line of my speech. But okay. Now listen, y'all. Folks, times are changing. People are getting involved in our democracy at record levels. We have access to more information than at any point in human history. And that increased participation is a good thing. But it also means that we as a party must raise the bar of expectation for ourselves. Because people are suffering and people are relying on us to alleviate that suffering. Now, while this committee is not directly shaping laws or legislation, the work we do here matters. It sends a signal that we as a party can be trusted, that we are using every lever available to us to make a difference, a material difference in the lives of the people in this country. Now, we're going to consider resolutions today where there may not be unanimous agreement in the room. That is okay, and in fact, that is the point. If everybody already agreed, we wouldn't even need a committee. We need a rubber stamp, and I don't know about y'all, but I didn't sign up to be a rubber stamp, and neither did any of you. What I will say is this: we will work to make sure the process today and moving forward will remain fair. Every voice should have an opportunity to be heard. You may not get the outcome that you want on every resolution, but our job is to make sure that you don't leave this room wondering whether or not our process was honest. That is my commitment to you as co-chair of this committee. I've always believed that we can compromise on our issues without compromising our values. I believe we can be stubborn on vision while flexible on tactics. I believe we can have hard conversations, and we should, because the people we serve are having even harder ones every single day. And at the end of this meeting, something didn't go our way. God willing, we get the chance to wake up tomorrow and show up even better. And that is the work. Because at the end of the day, we are all on the same team. We may fight on how to get there, but we are united by a shared belief that elections and governing exist to unlock the potential of other people's lives in this country. That is the main thing, and we have to keep the main thing, even when it's hard, and especially when it's hard. So y'all, let's get to work. Welcome. Now, per our rules, any DNC member who wanted to co-sponsor a resolution had to advise the Secretary's office and party affairs prior to this meeting. All members who indicated their interest in co-sponsoring a resolution by the initial April 2nd, 2026 deadline were added to the resolution sent in the Secretary's 7-day mailing. Any additional members who have signed on as co-sponsors after the deadline and prior to this meeting will be added and included in the packet that will be distributed to members from the Secretary's office via email ahead of the general session. All right, as we get underway, please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I would like to acknowledge our distinguished parliamentarian, Helen McFadden. At this time, I will ask Helen to call the roll and will be available to answer any questions we may have during today's committee meeting. Helen, thank you so much for being available to answer those questions during our committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Adams. Mr. Alonso. Here. Mr. Bagby. Here. Ms. Beal. Here. Ms. Briseno. Ms. Burke. Here. Mr. Christensen. Ms. Cook. Ms. Cotton. Here. Ms. Cunningham-Skurnick. Here. Ms. Donnenberg. Here. Mr. Folks. Present. Ms. Grove. Here. Mr. Hackett. Here. Forgive me, I forgot to say that Ms. Cook, who is absent, has given her proxy to Stephanie Beal. Mr. Hawk. Here. Ms. Herrera. Here. Mr. Hotel. Here. Ms. Hoffa. Here. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Jones has given his proxy to Peg Schaefer. Ms. Kuntz. Here. Ms. Christian. Here. Mr. Lee. Present. Mr. Lemke has given his proxy to Mr. Zaxon. Ms. Mast. Mr. Mata. Mr. Merrill. Here. Mr. Neary. Here. Mr. Park. Here. Ms. Pickens. Here. Ms. Reeves. Ms. Reeves-Chong. Present. Ms. Schaefer. Here. Ms. Shackelford. Here. Mr. Schultz. Here. Mr. Strader. Present. Ms. Swan. Here. Mr. Townley. Present. Mr. Verhejo. Good morning. Present. Ms. Verdi. Mr. Vilches Santiago. Ms. Williams. Mr. Woodard. Mr. Zaxon. You certainly have a quorum. You can see those. Okay. Ms. Adams has come in. I tried. I was suffering from them yesterday, remember? You certainly have a quorum.
All right. All right, we got a quorum, folks. So a quick overview of this committee meeting before we get started. According to the schedule of meetings, y'all, we have until 11 o'clock to complete our business today. As you can see, we have 32 proposed message resolutions and 12 commemorative resolutions to consider. Additionally, we received a resolution that I deemed urgent and timely, commemorating the legacy of Coral Springs Vice Mayor and the Florida Democratic Party Vice Chair Nancy Brown, who tragically was taken from us abruptly as a result of gun violence. Now, for sponsors of the resolutions, I will ask that you keep your remarks to 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Any comments on resolutions to 30 seconds, if you will, and that we remain cognizant of the time that we have remaining. I'll recognize the next member to speak after a member has spoken for 30 seconds. We all agree? I mean, I know Minnesota nice, but I'm gonna cut you off if you go too far past 30 seconds, all right? Okay. All right, members, you each have an agenda and a packet of the proposed resolutions in your folder that includes the additional commemorative resolution. Pursuant to our bylaws, resolutions, again, submitted by the 21-day deadline were sent to DNC members in the Secretary's 14-day mailing. As we consider each resolution, the staff will display the resolution on the screen in front of us. Being able to view the resolutions in real time will allow us to see any amendments as they are proposed. We will discuss the resolutions in the order that you find them in the packet. Are there any questions before we begin? All right, let's get into the consideration of resolutions. Let's begin with resolution number 1, recognizing the contributions and accomplishments of organized labor in fighting for fair wages and increased prosperity. The chair will now entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval so we can begin discussion. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Seeing no discussion, we will now vote on recommending the resolution. All in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution number 1 carries. Continue with resolution number 2, condemning Donald Trump and his administration. Second, is there a second? Is there any discussion on the resolution? There's about a week's worth of discussion while we're here. All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're gonna have some fun this morning, y'all. Resolution number 2 carries. To number 3, resolution condemning revisionist and exclusionary K-12 U.S. history of curriculum. The chair will recognize Jessica Cook for brief remarks. In the interest of time, please keep your remarks to 1 minute. Jessica here? All right, I'll entertain a motion to pass a resolution. Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution number 3 carries. To number 4, DNC resolution in support of public beaches, coastal access, and eco-terrorism economies. What did I say? Terrorism. Oh my God, eco-terrorism economies, thank you. Is Jessica Cook here? I'm sorry, is Samantha Hope Herring here? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Number 4 is adopted. Moving to number 5, resolution condemning anti-democratic redistricting efforts nationwide and voter suppression efforts by the Trump administration and Republican Party, highlighting the cases of Florida and Utah. The chair will recognize either Brad Townley or Samuel Vilches Santiago. Are you here? All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Samuel Vilches Santiago, DNC member from Florida. In November of 2010, the people of Florida did something remarkable. Floridians went to the ballot box and voted to end partisan gerrymandering forever by passing the 3rd District Amendment into the Florida Constitution, a direct act of democracy that said clearly and permanently politicians do not get to choose their voters. Like in any democracy, voters get to choose their representatives. For 15 years, that constitutional mandate has stood strong. And now Governor Ron DeSantis is preparing to throw it under the trash. As we've seen across the country, President Trump clearly knows that he's going to lose the midterm elections and has directed Ron DeSantis and the Florida Republican legislature to pass an unconstitutional mid-decade gerrymandering of our congressional districts. And they have clearly said that the reason they want to push forward is clearly partisan. So today, we're standing strong as a Democratic Party against this power grab, for fair maps, and we must say today very clearly that we stand with the people of Florida.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Samuel. Is there a motion to?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution number 5 carries. On to number 6, resolution opposing the SAVE Act and defending vote by mail, automatic voter registration, and the freedom to vote. The chair will recognize Martha McDivitt or Nathan Soltz or Samuel Vilches in the room. All right, Nathan, 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'll be very brief. I think we all know what this is about. This is a combination of a couple of resolutions that were submitted on this, but I'll say in Oregon, this is very important to us. Vote by mail is basically in our DNA. Mm-hmm. We were the first state to go to all vote by mail. Our senior U.S. Senator Ron Wyden is always proud to say that he was the first senator ever elected in an all vote by mail election. We've had vote by mail since almost as long as I've been alive. I remember the first time I saw a ballot, a polling place when I was visiting my grandparents in Las Vegas, and I was very curious what I was seeing, and they had explained to me the whole concept of a polling place, because it was so foreign to me, and frankly, it still kind of is. So this is really critical for us and what the Trump administration is trying to do to Oregon voters and just wantonly disenfranchise an entire state, not to mention all the other states and our overseas voters who are affected by this. It's disgusting.
Thank
So,
you, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you.
I will now entertain a motion to recommend the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 6 passes. On to number 7, resolution demanding improvements and accountability in ICE detention facilities and opposing abusive facilities. Is Ms. Vasquez in the room? All right. Come on up, you get 1 minute. Good morning.
Is Selena Vasquez, and I am proud to stand here before you to asking for your support for this resolution demanding the improvements and accountability in ICE detention facilities and, of course, opposing abusive facilities. Many of my constituents in Texas, where I am from, and many of the local elected officials, including Bexar County Commissioner Tommy Calvert, who is on his way here from the airport, have been at the forefront of this fight since the first Trump administration. And we want to make sure that these ICE facilities, that there is accountability, that there is transparency, and that we, the Democratic National Committee, and that Democrats are opposed to what the Trump administration, Governor Greg Abbott, and all the Republicans in Texas have been doing. So I'm here to ask
Thank
for your support of this resolution.
Thank you, Ms.
And it's very
Vasquez.
much needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll now entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval. Is there a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
There's discussion.
hello.
we'll recognize, there you go.
Sorry, I don't know which button to press. I'm 69 years old. Chairman, thank you for presenting this resolution. Ms. Vasquez, thank you for bringing it forward. I know we were going to have a guest from Texas, County Commissioner Calvert here from San Antonio. I too ask that we approve this resolution. As we know, a lot of people are now saying when they voted for Trump, they didn't ask for what came about. And one of them is what's going on with the facilities. This is very personal, not only to the folks involved, but also to, in the history of the United States, we've gone through this as well. During the 40s, there was an internment camps of Japanese. In Crystal City, my hometown, we had an internment camp, and I remember my mom saying, she would go to the fence and ask, why are these people in behind these fences, this location? So very personal, very important. I think it sheds a light about where we stand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Alonso. I'll recognize Ms. Stephanie Beal.
Hi, Stephanie Beal, Colorado. I just wanted to clarify what looks to be a small typo in the 8th whereas clause. It says T, comma, and I don't understand what the T is.
We'll take that without objection. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll now vote on the record, on recommending the resolution as slightly amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution number 7 carries. On to resolution number 8, resolution commending student walkouts in defense of democracy, civil liberties, and immigrant communities. Is Zaid Kadir here? All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries. On to number 9, resolution urging the U.S. Congress to pass H.R. 7602. And the chair will recognize Bill Owen to make 1-minute remarks.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. The resolution speaks for itself. The legislation is sponsored by Congressman Troy Carter, endorsed by the Black Caucus, and it calls for the establishment of an Office of Men's Health in the Department of Health and Human Services. We have 8 offices dedicated to women's health, and in the interest of parity, we would like at least one for men's health. With that explanation and pending any questions, I request a motion to adopt this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. I will now entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval. Is there a second? Any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution number 9 is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thanks, Mr. Owen. On to resolution number 10, condemning the influence of dark money in the 2026 Democratic primary elections. I don't believe Zaid Kadir is here. I will entertain a motion for approval, adoption of the resolution. Is there a second? Second. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? I'll recognize Sandra Lee Williams from the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to amend this resolution. A packet has been provided of amendments to the staff for the committee's consideration. You don't have the packet?
We can pull them up.
Okay, thank you. Can I go ahead and read this? Can I go forward?
Yep, you want to speak to those amendments? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I urge the members of our committee to adopt the package of amendments. Last August, our committee adopted a similar resolution that sought to limit corporate and dark money spending in primaries as part of an effort to prepare for the 2028 presidential primary. Following that resolution's adoption, Chair Martin formed the DNC's task force on reforms with a mandate to study the issue and propose real enforceable steps to the DNC and that the DNC can take to eliminate unlimited corporate or dark money in the 2028 presidential primary process. This resolution from our colleague in New York now builds on what was previously passed by the full membership by taking a position on Democratic primaries holistically. While we all support curbing dark money in our primaries and politics, as we made clear by passing the prior resolution, I urge the committee to adopt the proposed amendments to ensure we are doing so for all corporate and dark money interests,
Thank you,
not
Ms.
singling
Williams.
out individual industries.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Now, is there a second to the motion to amend this resolution with these amendments? Now, are there any discussion on the amendment to the resolution itself, on these amendments? All right, seeing none, we will vote on adopting the amendments in the resolution before we then vote on the full resolution. All those in favor of the amendments to the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amendments are now included. Now we will vote on the resolution itself. Before we do, is there any further discussion on resolution number 10? Yes, I recognize Ms. Lottie Shackford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. What is being shown on the board now with the red strikeouts and what have you is inclusive of the amended? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Just wanted to make it clear.
No, absolutely.
Very clear.
Appreciate the
Thanks.
clarity.
Thanks.
Can we scroll up a little bit so folks can see the rest of the amendments? Oh, you want to scroll down? Okay. All right, is there any further discussion on this whole resolution, number 10? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? Resolution number 10 is recommended as amended. On to number 11, resolution affirming commitment to full oversight and accountability for the Trump administration's criminal and harmful behavior. Is Mr. David Atkins in the room? All right, I'll recognize David Atkins for 60-second remarks. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
There it is. Okay. Hi, David Atkins, California. Thank you so much to the committee. Look, I get constituents from all over, online and in person, asking what is the Democratic Party doing to stop this insanity, these abuses. And look, it's not obvious to everyone what we are doing actually in Congress and what our governors and attorneys general are doing. But one thing that we actively can do as a Democratic Party to try to chill this is to promise that everyone at every level will be held accountable when all of this insanity is over. So that is one thing that we actively can do by making our statement very clear that if you do illegal things on behalf of Donald Trump, you will be held accountable, even in spite of pardons offered or any of the rest of it. And I think this is one way that we can go about making that promise, and that will hopefully mitigate some of the harms until we can take some action when we take Congress, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. I'll entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of adopting resolution signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That resolution carries. On to resolution number 12, resolution calling for a 21st century economic bill of rights. Is Ms. Millie Herrera here to speak on that resolution? There you are. 60 seconds.
Millie Herrera, DNC member from Florida. It's self-explanatory. These are basic human rights issues that we are supporting. The Economic Bill of Rights is going to allow us to communicate to the world that the Democratic Party stands for the working class, the middle class, actually for everybody. So I want to thank everyone. There's so many of them, but that helped draft this resolution and to make it as comprehensive as possible. And I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herrera. I'll entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Yes, Ms. Schaefer. Can you turn your mic on really quick? And for folks, when you speak as well, if you just state your name and your state as well.
Meg Schaefer, New Jersey. The last bullet on the first page, the right to an equal voice in our democracy by limiting the undue influence of corporate contributions. My concern about things like this is that if they're doing it, like I like restricting the primary dark money and corporate contributions, we want to do that, but not in a general election.
Are you proposing an amendment?
I'm proposing an amendment to delete that, or to say undue influence of corporate contributions in Democratic primaries.
All right, this amendment has been, we'll type it up first. All right, is there a second to this amendment? Is there a second to this amendment? All right, the amendment is not seconded, therefore we can't discuss it. All right, any further? Yep, Mr. Vilches?
I'd like to speak in favor of this resolution. Thank you so much, Millie, and everyone who worked on it. I mean, when we're talking to voters, the affordability crisis that Donald Trump has created is the #1 issue on a number of issues, from affordable housing to the cost of education, the cost of healthcare, you name it. And I duly believe that it is the job of this committee to show the clarity of where the Democratic Party stands, and I think this resolution does so. So thank you, Millie, and I look forward to voting for it.
Thank you, Mr. Vilches Santiago. Yes.
Terry Pickens, Idaho, and to address the good lady across the way about the proposed amendment, the reason I didn't second that. In Idaho, we have a ballot initiative process, and dark corporate money comes in to fight against the people's will on every ballot initiative we try to pass. And so limiting it to just that would limit Idaho going forward, so.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Resolution number 12 carries. Thank you, Millie. On to number 13, resolution calling for immediate congressional action on Puerto Rico's political status and the reintroduction and passage of the Puerto Rico Status Act. I will recognize Luis Davila Pernes from Puerto Rico to speak to the resolution for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'll be brief. I rise today to present a resolution that goes to the very core of who we are as Democrats and whether we are prepared to live up to the values we so often proclaim. For generations, our party has stood for civil rights, voting rights, and equal representation. We have insisted that democracy must be inclusive, participatory, and fully representative of all citizens. Yet today, over 3 million American citizens in Puerto Rico continue to live without full voting representation in Congress and without the right to vote for the president. We often invoke the legacy of John Lewis. Congressman Lewis stood firmly for the right of the people of Puerto Rico to determine their own future and to achieve full equality as American citizens. The question before us is whether we will honor that legacy with action. People of Puerto Rico have spoken clearly and repeatedly, plebiscite after plebiscite, most recently in 2024. A majority has voted to end territorial status and move towards statehood. They have done their part, now it's time to do ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will now entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? I'll go to Mr. Verdejo from North Carolina.
John Verdejo from North Carolina. As a son of Puerto Rico, born here in the United States, from the Bronx specifically, I want to urge everyone in this committee with a strong yes in support of the resolution. Sir, I thank you once again for bringing this up. It was beautifully written. It speaks to the issues that our people in Puerto Rico are going through, and it's been past time that this party and the United States, frankly, speaks to the issues of Puerto Rico, and that is, let us decide.
Thank you, Mr. Verdejo.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I will now recognize Otto Lee from California.
Thank you. From St. Clair County, as the host of our last Super Bowl, we all watched the amazing halftime show, especially hosted by Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, or Bad Bunny, right? And if anything he has shown us is how important this really is an issue that's long overdue. Let's pass this thing. Si se puede. Thank you.
Thank you. I was inspired to sign up for bachata lessons after the Super Bowl halftime show. I will now recognize Stephanie Beal.
Hi, I am in support of this resolution, but I do have a question on it, I think directed at you, Mr. Chair. The second from last, be it further resolved clause, directs us to transmit this resolution to the President, the Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader, and others. Is that something that we actually can do? If not, I would like that to come out. If we can, great, let's do it.
From my understanding, we cannot compel any of these folks to do anything, but I think we can send them what we want to send them.
Do we send it? If it's in there saying we're going to send it to someone, do we send them a copy?
We can. I believe if it's in there, we should. I'll make sure we get the read receipts too. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Beal. I'll go to Millie Herrera from Florida.
Millie Herrera from Florida. I fully support my brothers and sisters from Puerto Rico, as I was born in a neighboring island, and the Puerto Ricans need to make a decision about their form of government. So it's really important, and I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herrera. I'll now recognize Carol Burke from the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to state on the record that all territories are really facing the same eventuality as Puerto Rico. And I signed on to this resolution because I don't want for Louis and the Puerto Ricans, once they achieve statehood, to forget that the territories are still fighting for our rights to vote and everything else that we stand for today. So don't forget us, Louis. We're standing with you all.
Never.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burke. I will go to Latanya Reeves from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Latanya Reeves, Minnesota. I just want to say, as the Republican Party and so many people in the Trump administration are being selectively inclusive of people in this country, black people, Somalian people, very different communities, I stand with you to support this resolution. The Democratic Party has to be as inclusive as possible, and when you have an administration that disregards so many people based on the color of their skin or their heritage, we need to stand up for this. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Ms. Latanya. By the way, committee, y'all are doing a phenomenal job keeping with the 30-second and 60-second time limits. So I just want to re-encourage that, so thank you so much. Is there any further discussion on this resolution?
Well, Mr. Chair, I have a recommendation. I know I can't offer an amendment because I'm not a member of this committee, but just a clarification that could be added on the reference to HR 51. Not sure what page that, I think it's on page 2. HR 51 is the bill that would admit Washington, D.C. as a state. I don't believe with the wording that I put in that is stated clearly. Perhaps that could be added.
This is how we can do it. If there's someone on the committee that would want to.
I got it.
What do we need a chair for? We get this knocked out. That's perfect, right? So if you want to just, John or Jorge, if you want to make that amendment.
Come on.
Okay, I'll make the motion to add the amendment as stated by my illustrious chair from Puerto Rico.
I'm assuming Jorge seconds that
I second
amendment. Okay. Now, is there any discussion on the amendment as proposed? Ms. Burke, are you still in the queue? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you state the language so that we can get it into the doc so members can see?
Sure. So it reads, whereas despite the introduction of HR 51 in the current Congress, comma, I would add there, which would admit Washington, or which calls for the admission of Washington, D.C. as a state. I think that would go.
Are you saying after HR 51 or after?
After
the current
Congress, I think.
The same thing, just after in the current Congress.
All right, so whereas despite the introduction of HR 51 in the current Congress, which would call for the admission of Washington, D.C. as a state, comma, legislation addressing Puerto Rico status, specifically Puerto Rico status, has not yet been reintroduced. Yeah, I think that reads correctly.
Just so it reads, it's like and legislation. Or is that okay as it is? Does this read correctly? Okay. Now that's been moved and seconded for discussion. Let's see who's in the queue. Yes.
Peggy Grove. I have a concern that there may be people who want one or the other but don't want both, and it might jeopardize one or both of these. I never heard of two states or two entities being approved at the same time. They always do them individually. So that's my concern.
All right. Is there any other further discussion on the amendment? Yes, Samuel.
I think the issue at hand here is what the Democratic Party stands for, not necessarily what people would perceive this to be, and I believe the Democratic Party stands for admission of Washington, D.C., and the self-determination of Puerto Ricans.
Thank you, Samuel. Yes.
Yes, this is a
And
very
please state
strong.
your name and state too, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Annalisa Swan from California. I think this is a very strong resolution, and I would also support the amendment. I would note this is a whereas clause that is stating facts and just sort of setting the stage of the issues. It's not a resolve, so it's just enlightening people what HR 51 stands for and what we stand for as a party. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalise. Recognize Earl Folks.
Point of information, New Mexico and Arizona were admitted at the same time, 1912.
Thank you, Mr. Folks. Is there any further discussion on the amendment itself? Seeing none, let's call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed to the amendment? All right, the amendment is included. Now is there any further discussion on the resolution itself? Yes, Sophia.
I just want to make a very quick comment, especially in light of sort of this very, I think, really well-written and specific note that the equivalent of HR 8393 has not been reintroduced. And there are many places where this is part of our Democratic Party platform, and it is what the Democratic Party stands for from what we've said. And what we are asking is for members of Congress to follow and take action for what is in our platform. And so for me, this is very consistent, and I wouldn't actually say it's saying what the Democratic Party stands for, because we've already said that's what we stand for. What we want is for Congress to take action on this issue.
Thank you, Ms. Vandenberg. Any further discussion on the resolution before we vote? All right. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution number 13 is adopted. On to resolution number 14, resolution on Gaza, the West Bank, humanitarian protection, compliance with U.S. and international law, and recognition of Palestinian statehood. Is there Joe Salas could not make it, but he has designated Cameron to speak to this resolution. You have 60 seconds.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Cameron Land, and I am the Vice President of the College Democrats of America, and I am a proud son of Savannah, Georgia, and I am proud to be here representing our members and students across the country. It is necessary for the Democratic National Committee to address the ongoing heinous and illegal acts against the Palestinian people. Some here may say that there is a working group. To that I say that we are in a midterm year and they have yet to produce any results in a moment where anger has only grown amongst the American people. As a proud representative of the College Democrats, I will do as my members demand and encourage this committee to pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Landon. I will entertain a motion for approval of this resolution. Is there a motion to approve? Hold on, you have point of information?
John Verdale from North Carolina. Just point of information here, just for clarity. I've been, I remember.
Hold on, John. Before we discuss the resolution, we have to move in second, and then we can open for discussion. It's been moved and properly seconded. Now we will go to discussion. To you, John.
I apologize, Chair. My Robert Rules of Order is not all that great with me.
Well, not all of us have a Helen sitting next to us, so it's okay.
Yeah.
John, can you speak into the microphone for the live stream and for folks in the room?
John Verdejo from North Carolina. Just for my own curiosity, before, in the last meeting it was discussed, because this very same resolution came up, that we had a working group. What is the status of that working group? I thought that was the purpose of this working group, where this was supposed to be ironed out and everything. So why is this before us again?
Well, I am sitting here, this is my first time at a DNC meeting, and probably my last, given this is the end of my terms wrapping up as Vice President. However, I will say that I've spoken to members of the committee, and from what I've heard, there has been stagnation. There's been a lack of movement. Now, I can't confirm that. I'm not on the committee, but this is simply what I've heard. So.
All right. I'll recognize Jorge from Illinois.
So I think that this is a very obviously complex issue, which is why we send it to a committee. So if there's a question of why the committee isn't meeting, that should be addressed, not, again, bringing this up for us to take a vote and take a piecemeal approach to an issue that is very, very important, that continues to change every single day, and is the purpose on why we have a committee, so that we can bring it all together and then take a vote on an entire package.
Yes, and I'll answer that. I'll answer that question specifically. One, because Cameron's not a member of this committee, but also a little more context. I know that the task force has met once a month since it was created. Now, in terms of the report out and things like that, I think we can have a conversation about how we get more information from the task force. But I know that they are meeting, and I just wanted to at least answer that fact that was asked. We'll go to Peggy Grove.
Peggy Grove from Pennsylvania. My concern is the reason that we do these resolutions is not just to make us feel good and report out what we feel, but this becomes part of the platform for any candidates. And this concerns me that we do not have any language that has changed as a direct result of the committee working on this. At least there's no, I have not received anything that is marked up with the changes. So if the committee did come up with something, I'd like to see it, please.
Thank you, Peggy. I'll recognize. He didn't, so we'll come back. Sorry, I'm checking the queue. Who's next? Deborah Cunningham Skirnick.
Thank you, Chair. I am on that working committee, and we are committed to finding better solutions for how we approach this subject and what we do for all parties concerned. Joe Salas unfortunately couldn't be here today, and some parts of it I would like to go bit by bit over with him as well. I am in California in February passed a really good resolution on this matter. Andrew Latchman, DNC member, as well as Mervet Judah, an activist in Orange County, came together on a resolution that we unanimously passed. So I'm an optimist by nature. I would like to see this to go back to Mr. Salas, and that we consider good parts of it and implement some of the things from California as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Sophia Dannenberg, are you in the queue? Yes.
Hello, Sophia Dannenberg from Washington. First, I want to say that as the Vice Chair of College Democrats, sorry that we won't see you again. Thank you for being here. And I appreciate that you've brought this resolution forward because, you know, with this sort of nonstop news cycle of horror after horror with this administration, I do feel like the humanitarian situation in Palestine has sort of dropped from our discussion. There was almost no discussion of the last meeting, and I think it's something that we have to really keep in our consciousness that this is still going on. That being said, I don't think it's in order, and I, as a former rules chair, I have to remember this, that it's not in order for a committee to refer to this to a committee, but would we be allowed to make a recommendation that the body refer this to the task force? I'm trying to think how that would be done in a...
Yeah, so this is what I was gonna say, right? And we can continue our discussion. Because of how important the issue is and how many people care about it and how prevalent it is in the moment, instead of voting one way or another today, letting the task force continue to do its work, right? And then making a recommendation that we hear back from that task force in some sort of a timely fashion to make sure that everybody has the information. But it's one of those issues, and this is just my point of personal privilege, one of those issues that actually deserves the work that it deserves to take, right? When we talked earlier about keeping the party together and making sure that we widen the tent, it's not something, at least to me, this is my own, again, as a point of personal privilege, that we just, you know, vote up and down today without actually letting the task force do its work. It's only had the opportunity to meet once a month so far. That's only 4 times. And it's as heavy enough of an issue that I think that it deserves its work. So it's my recommendation that whatever the rules are, we can figure out what that is, that we, as a body, we recommend this going back to the task force. But then we can put some, I don't want to say constraints, but expectations that we hear back a report, hear back some progress, something like that, so that we have the confidence that I have the confidence the work is happening, but we need to make sure that others have the confidence that the work is happening as well. How does that sound? Okay. Yeah. All right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so let me see who's in the queue really quick. Marge Hoffa from Minnesota.
Weren't we already in the middle of the, are we going to amend this, or are we adding another?
What we're talking about, oh, sorry, this part of the discussion is about the motion to refer.
Okay, so
Yes.
you're going to change it to motion to refer. I was just, I agree with you completely that I think we have a bigger task force at hand, and they should be doing their work, and let's let them do it.
Thank you, Marge. Any other discussion on the motion to refer? John.
John Verdale from North Carolina. Yeah, I'd like to add to what you mentioned, Chair, is demanding, asking that each month something that they provide us a report of the progress of that task force, because to be fair, here we are again discussing this resolution, and like you said, this is one of those things that is not going to be resolved in the 2 hours that we're in here, but that they provide us a report of the progress of the task force. Yeah, it just can't be we a task force and then next time we have a DNC meeting, this comes up again. No, we want to see your progress. You want to be on the task force. You want to make the you want to make the hard changes, have the hard discussions. Then do it.
Thank you, John. And just for the record, I know this isn't one of those things where you kick it down the line and the committee where things go to die. These are people working really, really hard over a very thorny issue and taking the time that it takes. So I just want to, no one's accusing folks of not doing their work, but I just want to affirm that, one, they are doing their work. Two, we're volunteers as well. And they're hearing from experts and all sorts of things, right? And so I'm privy to that, but not everybody else. And so to your point, we want to make sure that the work, at least the progress reports, are communicated. I'm just checking the queue. Give me 1 second, checking the queue. Mr. Vilches-Santiago?
My particular question is not necessarily regarding a report. It's mostly around a timeline, because as the gentleman mentioned, we do have an election coming up in November, and I do believe that there will be millions of Americans that will be voting based on this issue on either side, right? So rather than just a report every month, is when are we going to have a resolution and an actual final report from the committee?
Yeah, I'll say this, and I'll refer to staff on this one. I agree in terms of timeline. I don't know how much as a committee we can tell people what to do and tell them when they got to get it done, but I think that we can work with staff and figure out, again, where the progress is right now, what we can expect by our next DNC meeting or whatever date that they come up with. But without knowing the work specifically, I think it's hard for us to say, this is what we want, this is when we want it, particularly when the task force doesn't necessarily report to us.
Just to quickly respond, but if we are motioning to refer to the committee, I think we can make the recommendation that they
give us a timeline?
They give us a timeline.
I heard that. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, to Shane. Shane has.
Yeah, would it be in order to call the question here?
Call the question. The question has been called on the motion to refer. All those in favor of the motion to refer to the task force, and we'll figure out the reporting and expectation and timeline, signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed to the motion to refer? All right. So resolution number 14.
May I move for a roll call vote? Or is that not possible?
No.
Okay.
No, it was very clear. That was bad. And who called for the roll call? Oh, and not a member as well of the committee. All right, so motion to refer has been adopted on resolution number 14. On to resolution number 15, resolution on preventing regional war with Iran, protecting civilian life, and conditioning U.S. military aid in response to escalatory military actions in the Middle East. Vice Chair Cameron Landon, I will give you 60 seconds to speak on the resolution.
Y'all haven't gotten rid of me yet. So, as we know, the tyrant in the White House is not stable, and this declared ceasefire is no end to hostilities. It is imperative that the DNC adopt this and demand an end to the illegal war and an end to the support that we are providing for all belligerent parties in this illegal war. I am once again representing the views of the students, of my members, of the young people across the United States who are demanding better, who are demanding that this party take action, who are demanding that this party make affirmative statements about what is happening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Landon. I will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? Is there a second? All right. Is there any discussion? Jorge from Illinois.
I feel like this is still getting at what we were discussing right before this. I think this falls under the scope of the working group. We should continue to have it flushed out through the working group. Every day something is changing. It's a very complex issue that, again, we need to bring all sides together to come up with what the solution is. Us passing a resolution isn't going to stop a war, but us coming together as a working group to figure out how our party moves forward, I think is the approach that we need to take.
Thank you, Jorge. Any further discussion? Yes, Peggy Grove.
We must choose our words very carefully. And I think both of these resolutions, the words have not been chosen carefully to reflect what our present situation is as well as what the near future might be. And I think that if we're all going to sign on something, which is so say one, so say us all, that we need to be very careful. And I agree that it needs to go back to committee for rewording, because it doesn't reflect what's going on today. This resolution is not in the present tense. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grove. I will go to Mr. Soltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a resolution coming up a little later, number 24, that speaks really directly to the atrocities and the illegal war in Iran that I certainly look forward to supporting, but I agree with my other colleagues that there's other issues implicated in this resolution that are just not fully fleshed out yet and would be appropriate for that working group, the task force, to work on that as well. But I do very much look forward to supporting number 24 against the war in Iran. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soltz. Over to Ms. Beal from Colorado.
Hi, Stephanie Beal from Colorado. This resolution is primarily addressing the conflict in Iran. However, the seventh whereas statement mentions Gaza, and I'm just not sure that's relevant or germane to this particular resolution.
Are you suggesting an amendment or just adding to the conversation?
I'm questioning, I guess.
Is that a question for me?
You can answer that one, yeah.
Okay, well, I believe that there are direct ties between what is happening in Gaza and what is happening in Iran, undoubtedly, given the fact that Israel, who has been attacking the Iranian people, this is also part of their larger project of what they have been doing in Gaza as well. So, no, this is directly tied.
Thank you, Mr. Landon. All right, I will go to Ms. Swan.
Yes, Annalisa Swan from California. I support sending this back to the task force so that we ensure consistency in our position as a party. And I just think due to the complexity, it requires further discussion among the task force in the Middle East. And also, I would like to commend that task force for taking on these issues and the work that they're doing. They are volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swan. Is that a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we refer this to the task force for Middle East.
Is there a second? All right. Any further discussion on? All right. I will go to Ms. Cunningham-Skernick.
Hello again. As a member of this working group, I will make sure everyone knows the importance that we do review these and take it seriously, because this is a matter that dives deep into the Palestinian community, the Jewish community, and I know me as being on this committee, it means a lot to me too, as the other members. So I will definitely make sure everyone's heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will go to John Verdejo from North Carolina.
John Verdejo, North Carolina. Two things real quick. One, just so I'm clear, this resolution, is this about Iran or is this Iran and Israel? That's my one question, then I got another one.
This is about the entire conflict in the Middle East, which is primarily right now targeting Iran, but of course their proxies are involved as well, such as their invasion in Lebanon and what is happening in Palestine and in Yemen with the Houthis.
Okay, because in my view, this should have been a separate resolution. Not knocking it, it should have been a separate issue, separate and apart. So that being the case, the task force now is being expanded because it was originally to the focus of the crises going on in Gaza.
Thank you, John.
Now it's been expanded. Just want to put that out there.
Thank you, John. And hold on a second. Thank you. Hold one moment. For questions, make sure to just refer the questions to the chair. I don't want to put anybody in the hot seat or anything like that, but refer all questions to the chair. Sophie had a point of order.
So, I mean, I had a similar thought, and honestly, I was actually going to, prior to that, make the motion to strike that line for amendment. But my point of order is that I do believe that this motion to refer to a committee on Palestine and Gaza is out of order, as we are effectively expanding the mandate of that committee by suggesting that they're also discussing Iran. And as a committee, we can't change the mandate of that committee. Even when my colleague spoke, who was on the committee, what did she say? Palestinian and Israel, right? I feel like this motion refers out of order.
Thank you. I think the task force is on the Middle East. I think the task force is on the Middle East. Hold on one second. Hold on a second, Gregory. Hold on. I'm almost positive it's a task force on the Middle East, but. We're looking at that right now. I'll recognize Gregory Christensen.
Yeah, Gregory Christensen from Iowa. Just to clarify, in the Be It Resolved section, the fourth Be It Resolved says, be it resolved that the Democratic National Committee calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. So I think that actually pertains to what the original resolution that task force was designed to address actually handles. So this is absolutely appropriate for that task force to take on because it is calling for a ceasefire in Gaza as part of the Be It Resolved.
So just to confirm information, it is the Middle East Working Group is what the working group is called. All right, just to remind ourselves, we are discussing right now the motion to refer that was moved and seconded. That's what we're discussing right now. Any further discussion on that motion? Seeing no further discussion, let's call for a vote. All those in favor of moving this to the Middle East Working Group with the same stipulations that we had earlier, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, that motion carries. On to resolution number 16, resolution to restore immigrant visa rights for citizens of countries banned by the Trump-Rubio State Department. Is Mr. Art Shankler in the room? Come on up, Art. And don't worry, your 60 seconds starts when the mic goes on. Absolutely.
Hi, thanks very much, Mr. Chair. As a member of Democrats Abroad, I and my colleagues submitted this resolution because we're aware of many American citizens around the world who are prevented from returning to the U.S. With their family members. And even more importantly, this applies to thousands of American citizens in the U.S. who are separated from their family members and unable to bring them because of this policy by the Trump-Rubio State Department, which bans citizens from a number of countries, 75, maybe 93 countries, just based on the fear that they will become public charges without any demonstration of that and in violation of the Immigration and Nationality Act's provision that says that people will be judged on an individual basis. Family reunification has always been the basis for immigration to the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Shankler.
And so we support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shankler. I will entertain a motion to recommend this resolution for approval. Is there a second? All right, I'll recognize Harini Krishnan for discussion.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just want to say you're doing an amazing job. I know these topics are not easy. So, Harini Krishnan from California. I'm here in my capacity as also Vice Chair of DNC API Caucus to point out that the January 2026 suspension of U.S. immigrant visas for 75 countries includes so many EEPI countries, and like the gentleman from Democrats Abroad mentioned, in countries Afghanistan, Cambodia, Fiji, Laos, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Thailand. And what this policy has done is it lacks exceptions for immediate relatives of U.S. citizens and has left families in limbo, and it's prevented spouses and children from joining loved ones in the U.S. This has to be addressed.
Thank you so much. I got to be a little more strict on the time because we only have 50 minutes and we're just halfway through. We're doing good work, though. I'll recognize Samuel Vilches Santiago.
Just real quick, something that usually gets left out of the conversation, it's actually, this violates Americans' right to petition their families. It is not necessarily attacking the immigrants, it is attacking the Americans who actually go through family reunification. So thank you for putting this together.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will call for a vote. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries. Thank you so much, Art.
Thank you.
Now to resolution number 17, resolution honoring Dolores Huerta and uplifting the voices of survivors. Is the chairman, Luis, here in the room? He may have had to run. All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve this. Thank you so much. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries. Resolution number 18, condemning Operation Metro Surge, and also resolution number 19, recognizing reported harms associated with Operation Metro Surge, honoring the lives of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and calling for accountability and constitutional protections. Because these two resolutions are so similar, I will invite each of the sponsors of the resolutions to speak. Let's go 90 total seconds.
Hey everyone, my name is Ben Hackett, DNC member from Minnesota. While I still am and continue to be a proud Minnesotan, and I'm exceedingly proud of my friends and neighbors taking to the streets, I am tired that it's always my community. To many people outside Minnesota, ICE and Operation Metro Surge may seem like a distant memory, but to me, many people who are U.S. immigrants who are forced to carry frickin' passports around and who are afraid to go out on the streets because of the color of their skin or their immigrant status, it is still a very real impact upon our communities. I am calling on the passage of this resolution to remind our Democratic leaders to hold firm and hold, when this dark storm of tyranny eventually passes, those who allowed this to happen accountable. To affirm the DNC's complete commitment, condemnation, of this unconstitutional tyranny, and to stay strong for our immigrant friends and neighbors, I strongly urge you to all support Resolution 18 and 19. I yield my time to Melissa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee, and Ben Hackett, thank you for proposing this resolution. I'm Melissa Lopez-Franzen. I'm from Minnesota, member of DNC. I also putting forward language to recognize most people have not heard Metro Surge lately in the news, but it does not mean that it has not had serious consequences that we are continuing to live through. People are scared. People have been affected, not only the two people that were U.S. citizens that were killed at the hands of our federal government. Just 2 weeks ago, at the local level, our county attorney and our attorney general is suing the federal government to release evidence of those incidents, including a third incident that was a shooting of another U.S. citizen during Operation Metro Surge. He has survived, but certainly there's been a lot more activity that you've seen in the news. I also, as a lawyer myself, I was able to go to the Whipple building to accompany a returning immigrant from Texas with an eye infection from being in an open prison and coming back and seeing her own rights as a resident, as someone going through an immigration process, being violated in front of me as an attorney. I could not speak to the detention folks. She came with a a grillete, a ankle bracelet. Against a court order, she was again put into a electronic surveillance application. This stuff is still happening in the state of Minnesota and across our nation. Just because you don't hear it on the news, the rules are continuing to change. Immigrants are continuing to be harassed, and we ask for your support for this resolution to hold our government accountable here in the United States of America.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much, Melissa. I will entertain a motion to, I'll ask for a motion to approve both of these together. Is there a second? All right, any discussion on those resolutions? I'll go to LaTanya Reeves from Minnesota.
Thank you, LaTanya Reeves, Minnesota. I'm so proud to support these resolutions. Our rights have been infringed. My ancestors fought for the rights, civil rights and human rights for everyone in this country, and so many others have as well. And to be in a state that takes care of its own and to have a government come and rain terror on us, it is astronomical, the level of stress and pain and trauma that we've experienced. And so I fully support this and urge everyone to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reeves. I'll go to Ms. Dannenberg.
So I wanted to at least just speak to kind of breath and take a pause. I know that we were sort of trying to get through a lot and there are a lot of issues, but I think that we do have to, again, with this sort of news cycle, I want to actually take a breath and sort of just pause on the last one on Dolores Huertas, just because I think it deserves a little bit of time, and I think this does as well. My fantastic, chair, Shasti Conrad, had organized an action at the Super Bowl that, we had these sort of ice out towels, and we were trying to keep it, to have it in the news cycle, because I do think that, again, with ongoing horrors, that we don't keep this in mind. I do think it's important for us to pause, to speak to it, and really say that this is something that we support.
Thank you so much. I'll recognize Millie Herrera.
Thank you, Millie Herrera from Miami. I fully support these two resolutions. And coming from Florida, where we have Alligator Alcatraz, where people are dying and have died, where U.S. citizens are now being detained coming back into the country of their birth just because of the color of their skin and just because of the last names. And it is persecution. This is becoming a war against all immigrants. I am a naturalized citizen, a proud naturalized citizen of this country. And I think that it is an absolute disgusting tragedy what's going on in the United States.
Thank you, Ms. Herrera. On to Harini Krishnan. Are you in the queue? Oh, it's okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? And by the way, me cutting the time short is not a reflection of the importance of your comments. I hope you know. We just want to make sure we get through everything. Any further discussion on these resolutions? All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of adopting resolutions number 18 and 19 together signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries. Thanks so much, Ben. Thanks so much, Melissa. All right, resolution number 20. Resolution number 20 was ruled out of order. After consulting with the parliamentarian, it was determined that it did not comply with bylaws Article 2, Section 10.c.i, and was not appropriate to be considered by the committee. Before we move on to resolution number 21, I've spoken to some folks who had worked on resolution number 20, and they are committed to working with staff and others to make sure that what they propose next time is in alignment with our bylaws. It's an issue that's very, very important to a lot of people, and we want to make sure that they get it right and we can have a conversation about it. On to resolution number 21, resolution supporting a peaceful democratic transition in Cuba and that respects its sovereignty. Millie, would you like to speak to that resolution?
Yes, thank you. Millie Herrera from Florida. I was born in Cuba. I lived the first years of my life in a totalitarian government, and unfortunately, what's going on in this country right now seems to echo. I get flashbacks for the persecution that I suffered in the country of my birth. I have never been able to return back to Cuba because of my family's opposition. First, supporting the toppling of one dictator, Batista, and then being persecuted because the Castro regime did not meet its commitment of a democracy in Cuba. So the sovereignty of the Cuban people, their right to decide how they're going to live and be governed by folks that they elect. not the United States going in and deciding who is going to be the president of Cuba and how they're going to be self-governing. So this is the reason why I propose this resolution, to respect the sovereignty of the Cuban people, to oppose the dictatorship that has been in place for 67 years.
Thank you, Millie.
And the humanitarian crisis that they're suffering. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will now entertain a motion to recommend this resolution. Is there a second? Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, resolution number 21 carries. On to number 22, supporting a peaceful democratic transition in Venezuela. I'll recognize Samuel Vicha Santiago for 60 seconds to speak to this resolution.
I was born in Venezuela, and over the last 25 years, we have seen a totalitarian regime that has tortured people, that has killed their political opponents, that has imprisoned people simply for thinking different. And what we're seeing happening right now is that the Trump administration, after they took out Maduro, basically said that Maduro's deputy, his vice president, is okay to continue torturing Venezuelans. And I think it's very important for us as a Democratic Party to stand for democracy, not only here, but also abroad. And I think we need to stand very clearly for a democratic transition in Venezuela, just like we did in Cuba. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vilches Santiago. I will entertain a motion for approval. All right, any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution number 22 is adopted. On to number 23, resolution reaffirming support for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, otherwise known as NATO. I will recognize Mr. Bill Owen for 60-second remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also known as NATO, is the most successful military alliance in the history of the world. It has helped keep the peace mostly for the past 70-something years. It is a defensive alliance. It is not an offensive alliance. Donald Trump shows his ignorance every day, and I doubt that he has ever read the provisions of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This treaty organization, NATO, was passed by, it was the crowning achievement of the Harry Truman administration and the Marshall Plan. And with that explanation, and pending any questions, I ask for the adoption of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Is there a motion to recommend this resolution? Is there a second? Any discussion on the resolution? I will recognize Stephanie Beal from Colorado.
Hi, Stephanie Beal, Colorado. My comment on this one is going to be similar to one I did earlier. The final be it further resolved clause says that we're going to send a copy of this resolution to all of the embassies in each NATO country. Do we have the capacity to do that? And if not, I would ask for that to be resolved or removed.
There are 32, Mr. Chairman, if I may, there are 32 countries in NATO that are signed into NATO, and each of them have some type of representation in Washington, D.C.
So I think just quick consultation with staff, because these are not elected officials, I don't think that we can commit to sending a copy of the resolution to these embassies.
Then
to foreign countries, I should say.
With your permission, I'll be happy to do it myself.
Mr. Owen, you do not need my permission to do so. Thank you, Stephanie.
Since we are not able to do that, I don't want to resolve that we're going to do something we're not going to do, and so I would make a motion to remove that final be it resolved statement.
You take that as a friendly amendment?
I certainly accept that.
All right, well, without objection, we will remove that part. But please email it or write it or whatever you need to do to let them know. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
All right, on to number 24, and y'all, we have a good 35 minutes to go. On to number 24, condemning the bombing of a girls' school in Iran, calling for accountability and reaffirming the Democratic Party's commitment to peace. Is Mr. Juan Cuba here?
Yes.
All right, we'll recognize you for 60 seconds.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Cuba. I'm a DNC member from Florida. But today I will speak to you as a father of 3 young kids, including my little girl who's 2 years old. She wakes up each morning, she lights up my world. When I pick her up from school, she runs to me, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," and I give her a big squeeze. She feels safe, and my world feels complete. And when this news broke, and I think about the fathers in Iran who sent their daughters to that school and never saw them again, my heart breaks. Watching them walk through rubble, trying to find something. We sent that missile. Our country did that. And we must condemn these actions unequivocally. This is a war choice. This is a reckless war. We must be the party that says that. We must be the party that honors our long history of opposing these type of wars. And I urge this committee to support this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Cuba. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Is there any discussion on the resolution? Yes, I recognize, I recognize Marge first, excuse me.
Marge Hoff of Minnesota. It's still got the same wording at the bottom about sending it to embassies.
Okay.
Does that one still have it on there?
Oh, I think you might be on the other page.
Okay.
I don't think so. But if it is, I think without objection.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Consistency.
Thank you, Marge. I will recognize Deborah.
Hello, Deborah Cunningham, Skirnick, California. On Monday evening, I went to a meeting in San Juan Capistrano, and luckily Robert Garcia was there as our guest speaker, and I think we all love him as a warrior with what he's doing. But when I got out of the meeting, I looked up in the sky and I saw a stream, and I first thought, is that a bomb? And I realized, no, it was Star whatever, Elon Musk. But that's where my head went first. And I can't imagine these countries in the world aren't thinking the same thing. And the killing almost 200 children is horrific. So I fully support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham Skirnick. Any further discussion on this resolution? All right, Juan, thank you for submitting. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, that carries. On to number 25, condemning the Trump administration and the GOP attacks on higher education and academic freedom. Mr. Saxon, would you like to speak to that for 60 seconds?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're doing a great job keeping us on time. Freedom of speech and academic freedom are intrinsically linked. As the spouse of a professor at the Cal State Universities, I know how it is so important to our economic success that we have higher education institutions that are successful and independent. And I also know that the role of universities and other institutions of higher learning in promoting independent evidence-based research rather than ideological conformity is a building block of our nation's economic success. And the attack of the Trump administration and Republicans at the state and federal level on our higher education institutions is something that we need to be condemning, and we need to be standing with our university professors and others for academic freedom. And I would urge that we adopt this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saxon. Is there a motion to approve? Is any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries. On to number 26, resolution supporting family farmers and ranchers. I will recognize Mr. Shane Merrill from South Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think most of you know, but some of you probably don't, I am a farmer from South Dakota. And in fact, I have to leave just after this meeting because we're probably going to start planting tomorrow, corn and soybeans. So wanted to bring this resolution. Means a lot to me. We hear so often out in the rural heartland that the Democratic Party has forgotten us, and it's just not true. In fact, in South Dakota, historically, farmers helped carry the Democratic Party through the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. But as we do get ready to head to the field here this week, there is angst. And for the first time in a long time, I think that we probably can make some inroads as the Democratic Party. So just wanted to bring this resolution and urge your passing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there a motion to approve this amendment, or I'm sorry, the resolution? A second? Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries. Thanks, Shane. All right, to number 27, resolution affirming America's commitment to values-based global leadership. I'll recognize Mr. David Atkins for 60-second remarks.
Thank you again, committee, for your time. So yeah, I mean, I think we've seen the values-based global order has come under a lot of attack lately, not just from MAGA, but from other quarters. But I think we've seen what happens when you abandon a values-based, rules-based order to personalist whims of demagogues, not just ours, but in other countries. So, you know, perhaps hypocrisy is the, well, whatever. The point is, it's better to try to establish an orientation around values and global leadership, even if some countries fall short of it, than it is to abandon it entirely. And the Democratic Party, I think, needs to affirm its commitment to a return to that and to holding to ourselves to our values as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion on this resolution? All right, seeing Marjorie, are you in the queue? Okay, no problem. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that resolution carries. On to number 28, resolution calling for the abolition of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I will recognize Isabel Enriquez here in the room to speak to the resolution. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second? All right, there's a queue for discussion. I will start with Oscar Mata.
Thank you, Oscar Mata from Utah. I speak as a son of an immigrant, someone who has friends and family that are undocumented here. I want to thank the committee for the work that they've done addressing immigration and ICE in Minnesota, Texas, and around the country. I want to make some amendments to this, and I think these amendments build on the strong positions that we've passed in these other resolutions heard today. It reins in and calls for the overhaul of ICE, and calls out Trump and this evil administration using these agents as domestic terrorists. And I think these amendments will reinforce strongly held positions and avoids contradictions
In interest of time, can you propose the amendments?
Sorry?
In interest of time, can you propose the amendments?
Yeah, I believe I submitted them to staff.
All right, can we pull those up on the screen so others can see them?
Sorry, I thought they were pulled up. My apologies.
No, all good, man. All right, so instead of adopting all of the amendments, let's just go amendment by amendment, and just let's go through it first, and then we can have a discussion on that.
Yep.
So did everyone see the first? Go back up one more time. Up to the title, I think. So there's a title change that you can see on the screen here. Striking, actually, no, Oscar, yeah, you want to run through the amendments?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, so the title would strike out abolition of the, and just change to the structure of the, and rein in the lawless conduct of federal immigration enforcement agents.
All right, that's the first one.
Yep. And then just stating that ICE has often, so adding the word often. It calls for completely overhaul or replace federal instead of replace and abolish federal agents, and adds the language ensures security while respecting.
All right.
Adds the word many to local and state democratic organizations, identifies public safety, adds a therefore be it resolved. The Democratic National Committee condemns the Trump administration's use of ICE as Trump's own personal domestic army, and then it expands the therefore be it resolved paragraph after that. And then,
Can you read those changes?
oh, sorry. The Democratic National Committee calls on the congressional leaders to overhaul or replace ICE in order to provide checks on immigration and custom enforcement agents' behavior and ensure that the Federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency cannot and will not treat anyone as less than human. And then in the next paragraph, it adds, or it urges Congress to prohibit the use. And I think that's it. Sorry, of course I forgot my glasses.
Prohibit the use of private prisons, but
Oh,
striking
yes.
the prohibition of private prisons.
Correct, thank you.
All right, these amendments, it's been moved. These amendments have been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, now this will be discussion about the amendments in particular. I saw Ms. Peg Schaefer's name first.
Peg Schaefer from New Jersey. I like the amendments, but I also, from my law enforcement folks, they said they're, the people we see on TV are the enforcement and removal operations officers. Those are the ones that get no training, essentially. And so I think it's important that we reform ICE and that we set terms with respect to them. And I think I would also like to add that we fund the immigration service, the parts that take care of human trafficking and the parts that take care of transnational crimes. Drug smuggling and other bad shit. That was my law enforcement guy. and that, so I would like to add to the amendments the increase of funding for ICE, for those parts of ICE, and make sure that the EROs are done away with.
So that suggestion is out of order for this part of the conversation.
Okay.
So we want to get through the amendments, and then if those amendments are adopted, then we can go into the broader, but we'll make sure we keep you in the queue, all right? Who was next in the queue? All right, Deborah, you're next in the queue. No, I didn't. Oh, okay. Never. Oh, sorry about that. Millie, thank you.
Millie Herrera, DNC member from Florida. I also want to, mention the fact that this administration is systematically threatening and removing duly elected officials for not signing the 287G. Which is delegates state and local law enforcement officers to function as ICE agents, and they're persecuting people just because of their suspicion that the person is documented or not in this country. I don't know if that's an amendment that we want to put in or just a comment.
So right now we're talking about the amendments already proposed,
Okay.
and then once we get through that, then we can talk about other amendments. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, I'll go to Stephanie Beal next.
Stephanie Beal out of Colorado. I am against these amendments. I think watering down the word abolish at this point is failing to meet the moment. In Colorado, we just did updates to our state party platform, and using the word abolish ICE passed with 97%. And that's a clear message from my state that we need to use the word abolish.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'll go to Lawrence Zaxon next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to say two things. One is the addition of the whereas clause about the use of ICE as a personal domestic army by the president, I think is an incredible improvement on the resolution. The second is I think it's very important that when we talk about this, we talk about replacement, because I think that implies both dismantlement and replacement with something new and different. And so I also very much support that more verbiage. Thank you.
Was that in support of the amendments, or, okay?
So I was pointing out two things in the amendment that I supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zaxton. All right, next to Ms. Reeves-Chong. Hold on one second. Can you turn on the mic?
I generally support what we've done here. I am bothered by the use of the phrase treating someone less than human. It's poetic but has no practical meaning. Is there something we can look at there that gives that a little bit more bite? Consistent with constitutional norms, all individuals. And I'm not even sure.
I mean, I guess you're proposing a friendly amendment to Oscar?
Yes.
Sorry, what's the exact verbiage we would replace that with then?
Well, we can try humanely, or all individuals in this country are treated according to the same constitutional norms.
And,
yeah.
And which clause is that? Could you point us in the right direction?
Come down, or I guess the second, first, be it resolved.
At the very end, before it gets, before the second strike happens, right before push, as less than human.
Yes, you want to suggest language for this piece? Sure.
I do think when we're talking about constitutional rights, a lot of times people are really focused on U.S. citizens, and so I would recommend and respect every individual's human rights. Something like that.
That might be better.
Yeah.
Would you accept that as a friendly?
Yeah, I would accept that.
Great. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Sophie. Next, we have Jeff Strader in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also will be not supporting the amendments as well. Again, my name is Jeff Strader. I'm from Texas. Along with Ms. Beal, I hear loud and clear from the folks that elected me to serve on the Democratic National Committee that they would like ICE abolished. I'm one of the co-sponsors of this resolution. I co-sponsored it because of the language that was proposed in the resolution, and I will not be supporting the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes.
Terry Pickens, Idaho. I want to remind everybody that the Democratic Party is a big tent party, and some of us have really red states and are doing a lot of work in really red states. And I support the amendments because we don't have the luxury of going without some restructuring language like this. I think that the restructuring language adequately reflects the moment. A complete restructuring of ICE does exactly that. I don't think we can, uniformly across the country put every person in the Democratic Party in the position that is straight abolition. I think we need to.
Thank you. I'll go to Oscar in the queue.
Thank you for the comment. I do just want to say, the biggest point of these amendments is to have us not contradict ourselves in the other resolutions that we've passed. I think this builds on the resolutions that we've passed here today.
Thank you, Oscar. All right, any further discussion on the amendments themselves? Mr. Stoltz.
There's the and will, take away the and.
Yeah.
Enforcement agency will respect. Yeah, that's it. Thank
Without objection, thank you, sir.
That's not bad.
All right, I will call this to a vote, the amendments themselves. All those in favor of approving the amendments, say aye. Aye. Any opposed to those amendments? No. The ayes have it. For the record, put me as a no as well. On the overall resolution as amended, is there any discussion on the resolution? I know there were some suggestions for amendments to the resolution itself. Yes, Peg.
New Jersey again. I just wanted to reiterate what I said before and suggest that, and I think the restructure takes care of the ERO issue that I pointed out, but there are important things that immigration does, and I would like to add language that says that we recommend more support, more funding for immigration staff who deal with the issues to get to have a better, smoother process to get immigrants into the United States.
No, where would you like to propose that amendment?
Yes, that
Where at?
at the last resolves, and the last be it further resolved, and then say, and increase funding for immigration staff to smooth the immigration process.
All right, let's get that on the screen before we vote on that amendment. So it'll be a new resolve clause. It says increase funding for.
Can we scroll down to the bottom?
Yeah, increase funding for immigration staff who.
To smooth the immigration process. I'm not. Well, you got another word? Expedite instead of smooth? Yeah.
All right. Does this read according to what you're looking for, Ms.
Yes.
Schaefer? All right. Is there a second to that motion? There's a second? All right. Any discussion on this amendment? Yes. I'm going to make sure we go in order. All right. Jorge?
So, having worked in the immigrant rights movement my entire life, the issue I have with that line is what immigration staff and to expedite what? Because one can argue the expedite removal of people, the expedite, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many layers. Like, are we talking about like immigration officers to process cases? Are we talking about, like, what are we talking about? Like, I think that's the issue, is that when we come to something like this, like, yes, it sounds great, let's get rid of it. But in practice, what does it actually mean? And what does it mean to the communities that it's affecting?
Thank you, Jorge. I'm going to be real strict on 30 seconds now, like super strict. Ben Hackett.
Ben Hackett, Minnesota. I'm opposed because it's too broad and frankly contradictory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett. All right, Mr. Jeff. Can you turn the mic on, please?
I'm not going to speak on the amendment.
We have to talk about the amendment for this.
Yeah,
part
I
of
know.
the
My
discussion.
card was up, and then the motion was made for it, so.
We'll keep you in the queue. Any discussion on this particular amendment? Yes.
Nicole Verdi from Rhode Island. I'm opposed. I don't think we should be putting in this resolution any increased funding for ICE.
Thank you, Nicole. Next in the queue, Sophia. Thank you.
And so just very quickly, I think previously you had said, for example, the parts of ICE that are dealing with human trafficking and these issues, I was kind of hoping to see those amendments, but I think as written, I don't support this wording. But I appreciate and support your prior notion, but I just don't think it's captured in this amendment.
Thank you. All right, the question has been called on this particular amendment. Just to repeat it, this last be it further resolved clause, the Democratic Party seeks an immigration system that is fair, functional, and consistent with the American values of liberty, equality, justice for all, and then this addition, and increase funding for immigration staff to expedite the immigration process. All those in favor of including that amendment say aye. Any opposed? No. The amendment fails. Now back to the entire resolution. Jeff Strader is in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Strader from Texas. It should be no surprise that I opposed the amendment. Now I'm opposing the original motion, or I'm opposing the motion with the amendment. Primarily, I'm not against reforming the ICE. However, I do think the system needs to be dismantled. The agency's culture, the structure, and all elements of it need to be abolished and started over again. The overall culture of the agency as we see and played out does not work. It has killed people. I can't support language that doesn't say abolish.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jeff. I will recognize Mr. Nathan Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I got married in October, my mother, who's an immigrant from El Salvador and has been here for 40 years, brought her naturalization certificate with her to my wedding. That's not the country that we are. So in the 30 seconds I have, I just want to say as clearly as I can, for my mom, on behalf of all Oregon Democrats, but just as the proud son of an immigrant, I need to say clearly, chinga la migra, fuck ICE, fuck MAGA, and leave us the fuck alone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment itself? I'm sorry, the resolution itself. Yes, Ms. Herrera.
Millie Herrera from Florida. I just wanted to propose an amendment. Is that in order?
Yes.
Okay. The amendment would be to be it further resolved, the Democratic National Committee urges Congress to revoke 287G section of the Immigration Naturalization Act, INA, that allows local law enforcement to act as ICE agents.
All right, we're going to type that up so we have it. Okay. We're going to get the language put up on there. So what we're doing now is just making sure we have the language clear so you all know what you're going to be discussing. And just as a quick reminder, we are scheduled for only 8 more minutes. I will do what I can to borrow a little bit of time, but Credentials is in this room right after us, and they've been dealing with the same issue for over a decade. So I want to make sure I want to make sure they have time to do their work too. Yeah, I know. I'm an eternal optimist. All right, so the amendment that was just proposed in this clause, be it further resolved, the Democratic National Committee urges Congress to revoke 287G section of the INA that allows local law enforcement to act as ICE agents. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that amendment? All right, any discussion on this amendment? Jeff, did you want to speak to this one, or are you in the queue for? All right.
Terry
Seeing
Pickens,
no-
Terry Pickens, Idaho. Very quickly, I just want a clarification. And it's not that they can act as local law enforcement; it's that they partner with. So I think it's incorrect language. It's partner with, not act as. They're not deputized federal agents.
You accept it as a friendly?
Yes.
Friendly amendment to cooperate with or partner with. It's not act as.
Partner with ICE agents. Does that work for your amendment?
Act as ICE agents, actually.
Well, you could say no and keep, yeah.
Because if to the chairman, even if ICE is eliminated, that it will still be able to collaborate. There would still, the agreement would stand in place also. So it would effectively make local law enforcement personnel ICE agents.
So you want to keep it as written prior?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Thank you.
Point of order. I'm an attorney by trade, and language matters. Partner with and act as are different. You cannot deputize a local official and a federal agent. It's just language. I know act as, but it eliminates acting as, but doesn't eliminate partnership. I think the goal of your amendment is to eliminate the partnership, right?
So they're deputized, thank you, they're deputized as ICE agents.
All right, thank you. Any further
Thank you.
discussion on this particular amendment? Seeing no discussion, we will now take a vote on this amendment. Again, be it further resolved, the DNC urges Congress to revoke that section of the INA that allows local law enforcement to act as ICE agents. All those in favor of this amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed to this amendment? Thank you. That amendment is adopted within this resolution. Now, back to the main resolution. Any further discussion on the main resolution as currently amended? Seeing no, yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to briefly comment. As you can tell, the whole issue of immigration is not only ICE, it's the law, it's a whole bunch of issues, and let me tell you what I mean by that. And I encourage at some point that we become very familiar with some of the other issues. I'll give you an example, one of the deals that's going on. Right now, it's all about immigration. If you're married, a U.S. citizen, you can apply for residency, but if you came here without documents, you have to leave the country to get legalized. I say that because there's over a million people that are in that situation, so I think at some point we'll look at the whole picture. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, sir. The question has been called on the resolution itself, which ends discussion and debate, so I will call for a vote. All those in favor of resolution number 28 as amended, please say aye. All those opposed to this resolution say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Resolution number 28 has been adopted as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recorded as abstaining.
I can't hear you.
I would like.
Yep, we got you recorded as abstaining. Thank you. All right, resolution number 29 was withdrawn by the sponsor. On to number 30 on recognizing the role of youth in the Democratic Party. I will recognize Mr. Cameron Landon for 60 seconds to speak to this resolution.
I'll try and keep it brief. Hey, guys. This one I hope is not controversial. In my role as College Democrats of America Vice President, I know that young people are constantly feeling shut out from the process in this party. This resolution will encourage the party at all levels to build out voting seats for their young leaders, and I believe the DNC must absolutely give a voice to support young people. So I encourage you all to support this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Landon. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution? Is there a second? Is there any discussion on this resolution?
I'll make it really quick.
I'll recognize Serini and then go to Ms. Cotton.
Thank you. First of all, I want to shout out all the Young Dems here who are here for their spring meeting. Both in my capacity with all the organizations that I work with, one of the things that I'm very intentional is that we center youth voices, that they are very much at every table. And I cannot speak more strongly that we need to have more youth voices at the county committee level, at the county Democratic Party level. We need to have more youth-led Democratic organizations. So I just want to support this.
Thank you so much. All right, to Ms. Cotton.
I want to say, as a lifetime young Democrat in the state of Arkansas,
That's right.
that I strongly support this as a senior DM and agree with you on elevating our youth and our young college DMs. They are not at the table as they should be. They are innovative, creative, technology savvy, and we could utilize that in all areas of our party. So I salute and agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I recognize Ben Hackett from Minnesota.
Ben Hackett, Minnesota, as a Gen Z DNC member, I strongly support this resolution, and I hope that we can move forward to try and getting more young people at the table and on the DNC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett. Over to Brad Townley from Utah.
Thank you, Chair. Brad Townley from Utah. As a recently aged out young Democrat, I just wanted to say how excited I am that the Young Dems are co-hosting their meeting with us today, and I would encourage all of my fellow DNC members to find your Young Dems from your state and other states in your region and mentor them. Please include them in activities that you can and make sure that they feel involved and included.
Shout out to the almost or recently aged out Young Dems. right. Any further discussion on this resolution? Yes, Mr. Schultz.
Yeah, I feel like we need to at least briefly recognize our DNC Chair, Ken Martin, for really walking the talk here and making sure that young folks are at the table, all of the tables, myself, Ben, so many recently aged out Gen Zs who are here because of Chairman Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries. We are on to resolution number 31 on electoral integrity, transparency, and limiting the influence of corporate money in democratic elections. Do we have anyone to speak to Allison? Yes, I'll give 60 seconds to make remarks.
Thank you. Good morning. Resolution 31 features language that you've already seen before, condemning the influence of corporate money and dark money in our politics. Our base has spoken. Democrats overwhelmingly want a party that stands for human rights and against increased conflict in the Middle East. 75% of Democrats currently support blocking further weapons transfers with unconditional military aid to the Israeli government. This resolution regarding dark money goes a step further. I believe that there is merit to calling out different PACs with intention, putting face and name to the forces that influence our elected officials. This moment necessitates urgency. It necessitates that we have the hard conversations. In the recent Illinois primary election, AIPAC spent $14 million in the Democratic primary alone. It's money that influences where we are as a party and brings us further away from our base. So with that, we must end the huge gap between the opinions of our voters, our base, the people that sent us here, that voted us as DNC members in, and the Democratic Party. So with that, I thank you and I yield my time.
Thank you, Ms. Merrily. I will entertain a motion to adopt the amendment. Is there a motion to adopt the amendment?
I move.
Is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Now, there's any discussion on this? In the queue, I have Ms. Lottie Shackelford from Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lottie Shackelford from Little Rock, Arkansas. I would like to recommend to the committee that we vote against the adoption of this resolution because our committee has already taken a very strong position opposing dark money in Democratic primary elections. We did this at this meeting through Resolution 10 that we discussed quite a bit at that time, and through the resolution passed in August that also led to the Reform Task Force undertaking work on this very issue. I'm a former co-chair of the Resolutions Committee, and I know firsthand the importance of our work and the voice in the party. However, I don't think at this time we should consider continuous resolutions on one subject after we've already taken a very strong and firm position on the underlying issue.
Thank you.
Our committee has also expressed its view on the corrosive impact of dark money in politics, including in Democratic primaries. And we have also agreed that it is not efficient to consider individual organizations one by one because there are too many to name and it would consume the entirety of the committee's work. And if we were to go step by step, entity by entity, this would result in endless debate and an endless number of resolutions on the subject.
Thank you, Ms. Shackelford. I have to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
You were saying something to me?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were talking to somebody else, huh?
Just you wait till I'm a former co-chair of resolutions.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Lottie. Thank you, Ms. Lottie. I'll recognize Peg Schaefer to speak next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So New Jersey was the recipient of a ton of dollars that upended one of our congressional elections. So I'm opposed to this. But not based on that. I don't want to single out AIPAC. Money's coming in from all different places trying to influence elections. We've already, as Ms. Shackelford said, in number 10, we've already taken care of this. A former congressman who was defeated by mistake in CD11 asked me to please make sure that we don't single out AIPAC, because I think it unfairly, it's a Middle East issue again. We can't pick on the Jews and expect this committee to be respected.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. Next, Marge Hoffa from Minnesota.
Well, I'm going to agree with both my colleagues and make it very brief. I agree with both of them.
Great, thank you. Mr. John Verdejo in the queue.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'm just going to add to it. I'm opposed to it, not on the surface, because I am for getting rid of dark money, corporate money, and all that stuff. But just a single out is what I have a problem with. You know, if we're going to go after AIPAC, which, you know, I get it, but why not, since dropping names, leaders with Deserve and all these other corporations. And I got to say this as well, is that particularly for elected officials, folks of color, right? In order for us to even, run for office, we sometimes need, you sometimes need to these type of fundings, okay? So it's like, I get it on the surface, but I think the real issue is we need to really attack and go after the reason why these things even exist.
Sir.
Until then, it is what it is. Let's go after that instead. Submit me
Thank you,
the
John.
resolution on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, I'll recognize Sophia.
Okay, with 30 seconds, you're going to see how fast I can talk. So, you know what, I think, I came in here and I initially had said, when I got a call yesterday from, I forgot his name, Mr. Jewish Caucus from Massachusetts, and I said, I really am interested in hearing the discussion about this, the policies of AIPAC, so that we can talk about it. And I also said, especially given that there's these war crimes that Netanyahu is committing and the U.S. is also threatening to commit to annihilate civilizations, it is something we should talk about. And maybe if we don't get to it, it's better for you because we have a time to have this discussion. And you know what he said? He said, if you do not support AIPAC, if you do support, you are anti-Semitic, period. And to me, that is somebody that does not want to discuss the policies of AIPAC. He would not actually say anything. It's so indefensible, apparently, that all he could say was say that I'm anti-Semitic. And I'm just going to say this as a black woman. I can think of a billion reasons why he is racist. Because you know what? He said people associate Jews with AIPAC, and so it's anti-Semitic to not support AIPAC. You know what? People support black people with gangs. And so if you don't support gangs, then that means that you're racist. I'm sorry, but I really think we have to have a conversation about AIPAC, and I really hope that if we oppose this, that the task force actually specifically talks about the policies of AIPAC.
Thank you so much. All right. No, it's all right. Anyone else in the queue for this? All right, the question has been called on this resolution, which means debate and discussion is over. Again, me cutting folks off is not a reflection of the value of your comment, but a reflection of our time. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, the noes have it, and resolution number 31 has not been adopted. On to number 32, resolution calling on the Democratic Party to protect the rights of UOCAVA voters. Is Ms. Martha McDivitt here? All right, your 60 seconds starts when you turn on the mic. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Martha McDevitt Pugh, the International Chair of Democrats Abroad. I'm a California voter. I moved to the Netherlands in 2000 because as a lesbian woman and a U.S. citizen, I was not able to sponsor my wife for family reunification here in the United States because of the Discriminatory Defense of Marriage Act, which U.S. citizens abroad helped to overturn in 2013. There are more than 6 million U.S. citizens living abroad. Our right to vote is granted in the federal UOCAVA law, which has been in place for decades, and gives us the right to participate in political processes and have our voices heard on matters that impact us, our families, and our communities. UOCAVA rights are under relentless attack at the state and federal level, which aims to intimidate and erode the confidence of military and civilian voters abroad who are passionate citizens and care deeply about our country. This resolution affirms the Democratic Party's commitment to the voting rights of U.S. citizens who reside outside the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, is there a motion to approve this amendment, or this resolution, excuse me? Is there a second? Any further discussion on this resolution? Yes, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to briefly recognize the good chairwoman for always being unrelenting in her advocacy for her constituency, for her community, keeping these issues present. I encourage all of my colleagues to follow up with Democrats Abroad and Chair McDevitt Pugh to make sure that we're incorporating these Democrats Abroad in our outreach efforts.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Any opposed? All right, we have one more item for business. Thank you so much, members. So we've received 12 commemorative resolutions which were sent to the DNC members in our secretary's 14-day mailing, and one additional resolution considered to be urgent and timely that I mentioned earlier before you today. We typically do these in a block. I will entertain a motion to approve these commemoratives in a block. Is there a second? All right. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting these as a block, say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Listen, y'all. Members, we have concluded the business of this committee. Before we adjourn, I want to thank each of you for your diligent, thoughtful, fierce, aggressive, direct work today. I would also like to thank the staff from the Secretary's office and Party Affairs, the research team, the comms team, the General Counsel's office, the IT team, the operations team, and there are a lot of really hardworking staff who helped make this meeting able to take place. I'd like to thank our court reporter, the technical support team, and of course, our wonderful parliamentarian, Helen. Our committee's work will be presented for approval. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Our committee's work will be presented for approval to the full DNC tomorrow during the general session. I want to say thank you all again, and without objection, we stand adjourned. Thanks so much.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm not trying to delay, but I am really concerned because I'm troubled that of some of the language that was spoken at our committee today, and I would like for the next meeting, at the beginning, some rules are established in the sense of words that can be spoken or not spoken, because when there are derogatory words spoken in a formal meeting, that's reflecting negatively on me.